So YouTube Nation, Sudachi here, and I did a video with Jeremiah Oliver, missing boy Jeremiah Oliver. And in that video, the first video I've done was going over a report from DCF, and what they did to me and what they did to his case. Now, due to DCF being under the fire of the gun, I should say, and I mean in serious terms, they are, due to the fact that this missing boy, and now they're coming out with DCF worker lied that she was visiting the family but didn't. I mean, there's so much pointing the finger on this case. It's disgusting. I mean, even, you got this little girl, teenage girl out there, I forget her name, but the one where she's diagnosed with a, pretty much a disability, and they thought it was something else, and the doctor said, well, you're neglecting your child, and took them away. It's been a year now that they've been with their daughter, and they went on the Dr. Phil show the other day. Well, and the father said on the Dr. Phil show that DCF never once came out to meet the family. They just took that right into, right into play that, oh, this family's not doing their job. The doctor knows best. Well, in their case, hugely different than mine. Not meeting DCF just determined that the family's incompetent to not take care of their daughter. Well, that's a fucking outrage. And I can't say DCF didn't do their job on my cases, but I will say due to the non-seriousness of my case, which there was nothing that I did not hide, nothing that I did not tell the truth, and they, pretty much, they stayed up our butts for 2 years, one case, a year, another year. I mean, they spent long periods of time in with my family. And I'm going to tell you something, boys. The first case that I ever got was in 2007, and it was due to the yelling in my house, the apartment we were in. Now, can you explain to me how you deal with an ADHD bipolar kid throwing toys, throwing forks, throwing anything that could get in his hands? And at the time, he was, just off the wall. He would trash his room. Now, back in my day, you got a butt whooping. And I mean your hand on your butt. Alright? I'm telling you, there was one time in my life that I am glad that I got a butt warming. Alright? And that was due to the fact that I was in the 2nd grade and they started this game. I don't know who, I know it wasn't me. That's why I got in trouble for it, because I got caught doing it. Because I didn't know what the consequences would be. And it was a game back in, what was the year in 1972. Not 1972, year back then. It would have been like 1980, 1979, 1981. Now, some jerk made the game Friday flip-up day. I don't know if this started in the high school or middle school and then came down to the elementary school, but I know one thing, that it wasn't a good thing to do. So I got suspended for 2 days, and I got the butt whooping of my life. And I mean, I just couldn't sit down 2 days on that one. My butt was tender. But Friday flip-up day is when you go take a girl's dress and flip it up and go, and laugh at it. You know, back then, things like that weren't overlooked either. Some things, you know, were, like peeping Tommen and all that crap. I mean, but it got stricter as the years went on, of course. But like I said, I'm glad I got that butt woman, because I got to turn out something different. Maybe not, but I think, you know, thinking back on it, I could have been a pervert. It could have been these jerks around here and the cell phone, you know, flashing pictures under dresses. Or here's a good reference. And to show that back in the 80s, that this was something, you know, that wasn't taken serious. If you watch the movie Splash with Tom Hanks and John Candy and the Mermaid movie, what was her name? You know, the long blonde, I forget it. I think it's, well, anyways, there was the Mermaid movie Splash. I forget when that movie was made. Probably, jeez, man, 1985, 86. And this is how the 80s was. If you watch that movie closely in the beginning, John Candy, as a kid, was dropping change on the women's dresses and looking up it. It's like, and when he got older, you also got to watch, he's still doing the same damn thing. This big guy dropping change, he's picking up, he's looking under the dress. I mean, little innocent stuff that has turned into, you know, stuff like that back then was like innocent stuff. Who didn't want to get a peep at a girl naked? I mean, it's been going back since the dawn of time of Tom Sawyer in your literature. They used to peep in Tom. I read that in the Tom Sawyer book. Kids back then, oh yeah, they got a peep in Tom on a lady at the house, and you know. But yeah, you got to think though. It's all been going through the history of time, and there's lots of perverts that have been out there and have been documented. If you read stuff like, you know, the Charlie Project blog, that's not just only for missing kids, but it's about all kinds of things that people did, and child killers or even grown-up killers, doesn't matter, it's on there. Executions of why people did stuff. It's good reading, but just before I get blown off course here, that's the reason why I say, if I maybe kept doing that, maybe I could have became something more, but I stopped after that, because back in the day, bang, 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 you had a spanking right on your ass, and that was it. End of story. You did something, but don't do that again. I mean, but in my life, I got beaten more for not knowing things than doing things that I wouldn't, you know, not normally do. I mean, if someone told me, like my older brothers get a good kick out of me getting my butt whooped, and instead of my mother punishing them, and they did it a lot, then no, she punished me. So I think that's kind of crap, but you learn, and I know by spanking the butt and spanking the hand on a child, you know, there's no law. There's no law. They just want you not to do that these days. And just yesterday, actually, let me finish this. They just want you to do that stuff today to make an example that it's not good to, you know, smack your children. But guess what? Guess what? Just yesterday, you know, I want to get one thing out before that too. I don't beat my kids with belts. I don't beat my kids. I don't punch them with a full fist. I don't, you know, smack upside the head sometimes of smarting up. You know, smarting up. Got a kid in here wasting hot dogs. 3 hot dogs, wasting it, shaking them around. Oh, like the Ugly Boo Boo show. Like, I think this is where he got it from. And what a disgusting family they are. And I'm surprised the stuff on their show that they do, they don't get DCF involved in their ass. Because they're disgusting. they're perverts to me. I think that show's degrading, disgusting, and I watched enough. I just happened to just say, I'm going to check out, see what happens in this episode, and they're in a camper trailer driving somewhere, and they've got hot dogs smacking it in little boo-boo's face there, and she's crying because they took a hot dog to do that, and they're waving it in, you know, like a dirty gesture of shaking it dead, and that's what my son did. And it didn't dawn on me a couple of days ago when I started thinking about that show and that it was similar to the show, and I think he was around when I was talking about it, or maybe even seen it himself, and he did it himself, and got my oldest son trapped in the closet and fell down and couldn't knock these crates of glass on his head, and I had, it just goes on and on of what the hell really happened. But just yesterday on the news, they decided to do a thing on preschoolers. That's right, preschoolers getting suspended. Now the statistics say in this preschool and suspension that African American children get suspended more than white. Which, you know what, don't even want to hear that shit. Kid gets suspended, he's suspended. Doesn't matter if you're Puerto Rican, Chinese, black, doesn't friggin' matter who gets suspended. All that matters is some kid gets suspended, and they're blaming the parents is right. Normally, yeah, it is the parents, because they're not watching their kids, or they're not giving them proper spanking to learn what's wrong from right. No. You can't hit your kids no more, so they go off the wall in stores, in public, in any... God, the only place the kid can act normal, look normal, acting outrageous, is pretty much Chuck E. Cheese. You got all kids in there screaming, yelling, running, do. And they're just acting out like they normally do in the store. I have my kids in the store almost knocking down cans of food, displays, because they're running thinking it's a big playground and having a fucking good old fucking time. Yeah, and one person told me that they might be bringing back spankings, but to me, spankings haven't been banned. I think they've just been unrecognized and just, anything in history left behind if that's not proper. Get out of here. My kids might do some little damaged things, but they don't do it fully. I can guarantee that, the way I run my rules, the way I run my discipline. And I've told DCF in the past, and I told them not to recently, because I got a new case open right here. See it? Right here. You want to know what they got me down? Neglect. I'm neglecting physical abuse on my kid. I get a call from a DCF worker that I told a counselor out at a facility my son went to in Worcester. I told this guy that, hey, I hit my kids on the hand or the bottom when it's in a dangerous situation. Like I said, toys can go in the eye. The little ones, I got 3 and 5-year-old, they get a toy in their eye, they're blind for life. Or they get something patch on it, or, something brutally happens, which it almost does here, because, you whip a toy, you get smacked in the face, a ball, you get a bloody nose, you could break your nose. Hey, Masha, and the Brady Bunch broke her nose because don't play ball in the house, huh? Here comes the ball down the stairs. If you kids don't know that, or if people, the younger kids generation don't know that, look up that episode on YouTube. The day Masha Brady got a ball in her face and broken nose. That can happen. And that's why that show, I like that show. I don't care what anybody says. It came out with some good stuff. But back then, they didn't have DCF flying. They took care of their situation in a proper manner, not spanking either. But you know what? In reality, all families are not good that way. I tried to make myself that way because I like that show. But hey, it can't always be that way. Back in them days, they wanted to put a frosting coating over a cake that was sour and make it look good. But it ain't that way in reality. But stuff like that happened on the show, and everybody tried to make their, impressions on their families. But hey, I know a lot of families when I was younger that got their butt whooped. In the story, period. And there wasn't no, geez, yeah, And I think spanking should be a law and stay a law. And even if they ain't, I don't even think they ain't. I meant to say, I don't even think they ain't. There's no law saying you can't spank your children. It's just people choose not to because, right, they don't want this in their face. Oh, abuse. Right, physical abuse. Yeah, this guy tells DCF because he's a mandated reporter. I told him my story of what I did. I did this, and they're going to get it. Boom, smarten up. Smarten up. You want to waste food? 3 days in a row I had to go through this thing of wasting food that could have been eaten. Because we don't get much food in this house. And by the end of the month, when we're getting our next set of food stamps, because I'm not working, we're almost out of food. Everybody's eating soup or canned goods, green beans, vegetables, which is good for you. But, hey, you know what? You're still going hungry because that stuff don't fill you up either. And it's just ludicrous on what the way, this guy tells DCF. I got into a fight. And they're saying, obviously, a physical fight, which I told the DCF work, there ain't no physical fight. I smacked him upside his head to smarten up. And people have done that for many, many years. You ain't going to tell me. You go watch people on, I'm not, it's not like I'm taking a belt, a switch, like they called it back in the day, and chasing my kids down and whipping them. I'm not leaving welts because that hurts. I've had that happen to me. Not only did I get spankings, which was a good thing, I think, in some ways, but I also got the belt. I got physically punched with a full fist in my face and head when I was a kid, and I'd become a defender of my faith. But anyways, it's not about me. It's about how they push. Now, here I am explaining all this, and all my kids are up to date. My kid's physician will tell you, the doctor of my kids, that my kids are healthy. My kids go to school. My kids, have no problems with them physically, mentally, being cooped up in the house because you have no job and money to take them out nowhere. Well, that seems to put a toll on people. And I've been asking people to help me out to get a work truck. Nope, zero. I even asked GoFundMe.com to get a truck on the website, but that's more or less for people that need arms or, livers or some kind. But then again, I think someone got married on there and someone took care of someone's wedding. So, you know what? I've been on there for probably 5 months now, 4 months. I ain't got no help for no work truck. I need a work truck. My car that I am driving now, I can't even trade it in, but it needs a little bit of work like any normal vehicle would, and I got the money to fix it right now. I gotta gradually fix it, and it's getting worse. I bumped out my front end in a snowstorm, hey, and I'm getting, this on me, physical abuse, neglect. It just goes on and on and on, so I'm here now just to tell you, this Jeremiah Oliver case, someone didn't go out there but once for 1 year. They supposedly lied that they were visiting the family, but they didn't. I don't know if the person maybe knew that person, the mother or the father, and they said, oh, you're good people. I'll just leave it at that. I'll make my reports or whatever they did. But here he is missing, and I know for damn sure he's dead. Poor boy's dead. Poor boy had a broken arm before he went missing, dead. And I can just imagine the pain that kid was feeling. The dumb schmucks brought him to the doctor. She was going to kill a kid. Why bring him to a doctor of a broken arm? The poor little kid probably wouldn't even shut up with his arm. Probably screaming, crying, whimper, and that was it. Now he's gone, missing. All because of DCF, and now they're getting the hammer down with their ogre roach, and they're coming after me full force, which now get this, since 2007, I told all DCF workers at the time, DSS, that I smack my children in dangerous situations. I give my discipline to my kids, and none of them, not one of them, have gone off as this far as to give me, neglect, you know, of physical abuse, and all on them, you know. It's ridiculous. It's why don't you go take care of the serious cases that are out there, and hopefully you can start fixing your mistakes. Your mistakes, not mine. I don't make mistakes. My kids are disciplined the right way. My kids go to school 100%, and the teachers, the secretaries, all of them, I got them to back me up, that my kids go in there and they love and adore them. My little one's having some trouble with school, but you know what? I'm working with it. We're working with it. Hey, it is what it is. You know what? But they still get the perfect. Oh, these kids, even my doctor, their doctor, she's my doctor too, but even she said yesterday that we brought my son to the doctor's because he had an appointment. Hello, that's my little 3-year-old. She said he's a perfect angel when he comes in there to see her. Perfect, but yeah, everything at home, you know, just crumbles, and they get out what they can't get out in school, but, you know, hey, I'd rather see my kids be perfect in school than come home and release some tension, whatever. If it gets too out of control, I put my foot down, that's right. But I don't need this in my life for the rest of my life, which I think it's going to be. I don't know if they're going to kick me out of my house, tell me to leave. I don't know. They call it a 51A here, so put your 51A on me, because I'll be fighting this case. And I'll probably be fighting till the day they all turn 18. But, you know, we struggle, but we stick together. You know, my kids always come up, they can say, you know what, they can say, they always say, oh, you suck. Even my second oldest son called me a loser because I don't work, I don't got a job, I ain't got money. He's calling me a loser. I can't do nothing, but if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have lost my job that was $14 an hour in 2009, because I needed to be in his meetings, I needed to be in his life, and the job was just, almost 12 to 13 hours a day. I get home, spend barely any time, and I'm getting in trouble by the psychiatrist. I need to come to, when I started to do what the psychiatrist said, it came down to the point that the boss said, your job or your son. Who am I going to pick? I'm not picking that job. So I've been working self-employed as much as I could. Lost my truck, like I said, 2 years ago. Now I'm in a bind, but I'm trying to get a work truck. You know, I'm trying to work out deals with people, but people don't want to help nobody. They're all about themselves, you know. But I mean, other than that, you know, I got so much going on right now, so much. People ask me, how do you do it? I don't know how I do it. All I know is I just have to do it. There's no excuse, or I gotta go here, I gotta do this. You know, there's no excuse. That's why I quit my job, because there's no excuse of why I had to be working 12, 13 hours a day and not spend no time with my 2 sons at the time. And, you know, whatever, man. It is what it is. And then if people gotta have a sorrow-ass attitude for the rest of their life, especially DCF now, because they're being, punished. They're being, very bad, not listening, not doing their job. But they harass me somehow, I tell you. They're up my patuka, yeah. They're up my ass, all right? And it's just getting old, because there's more serious cases out there than mine. People say they're worried about the safety in my house, but guess what? Right now my kids are out there watching TV. Do you hear them? Sometimes they get rowdy. Sometimes, yeah, we have a blowout. My son Zach, he needs to just be placed somewhere to just get out of the house, because that's what he's known to do. Can't help that. And that's what, And if you don't do these things, now get this, if you don't do these things, or if my sons would have never went on medication, they would have called DCF. Get that. So if I did not do the things I did to my son, they'd call DCF. So either or, I don't have no space. Oh, you're neglecting your child. He should be at a facility. He's unsafe. He don't take his meds, blah, 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 blah. Either or. If I smarten them up, whack. Or if I send them off, you better do it, because DCF will be called. I was told by the psychiatrist when I first met him, if he's not on meds, I'm calling DCF. You're neglecting. Oh, jeez. So, he's been on them ever since. They do help in some ways. They do. But it's just crazy. It's crazy what the fuck this world's coming to. But they harass me more and not do their job on others. So, with this, I like to wrap it up. But I am going to keep this going on YouTube. I'm going to show people my life and what I've been going through with services and DCF, just to let you know that, yeah, sometimes they're up someone's ass too much. And, you know, see what I mean? Being up my ass too much? Where's Jeremiah Oliver? Where is he? Where is he? Is he in my house? No, he ain't in my house. Kid's missing. Kid's probably in the dumpster down the street where the guy used to live. Probably tossed his body out. Maybe he did bury him. All I know is that kid's dead, gone, forgotten. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. And I'm up my kid's ass every day to make sure they're safe. Give them the knowledge I know from the street so they don't end up like this kid. Whether they take that and do it or not, hey, I can't say, but I know one thing. We're close. And when we have our blowouts, whatever. Welcome to the madhouse. But, you know what? I'm going to keep people updated on this. I'm documenting what happens out of this case. Because Jeremiah Oliver, smack upside my kid's head and I neglect them all and physically abuse them. You see bruises, they ain't never have one cut, bruise, broken bone and gone to school. And the school called on us. Never. The situation, they went to school with bumps and bruises, but kids will be kids running around. And too many people use that for an excuse, but hey, not my kids. When they get something good, it's good that they did on their own. So, until the next video, YouTube Nation, I'm out.